On this not-so-average Thursday, I went to the bank to withdraw $8,000. One simple handshake later, and we were the proud owners of an airplane fuselage. This fuselage was once part of a fully functioning airplane, but eventually it was retired and it's used for training at a small local airport. Our airplane's former owner had big plans for this airplane, but like many of us dreamers, he didn't have enough time for yet another project. We couldn't pass up this opportunity for adventure, so today is the day we bring her home. Immediately upon arriving, we started to face some obstacles. The airplane had actually been parked in the grass for several months, and it had started to sink down into the ground, making it extremely difficult to pull or move anywhere. We first tried to hook up the airplane to just my husband's four-wheel drive Cummins diesel Ford truck, which I know doesn't sound like it makes sense, but that's a story for another day. We then tried hooking up the airplane to both the owner's Durango as well as our truck and have them pull together. That didn't work either. Eventually, we decided to have just the Durango try pulling from a spot in the cement where he could get a lot more traction, and thankfully, that was the key to getting the airplane moving. After saying our goodbyes, it was time to hit the road and start heading home. According to the map, the trip was to be about 30 miles long, and that morning it had taken us 30 minutes to get to the airplane. Our official start time was 9:49 a.m. Just like with all our adventures, we are like kids on Christmas morning when we start something new like this. We are full of hope, we're optimistic, nothing can stand in our way. We are totally excited about the adventures ahead with this airplane. The previous owner had told us that it would be a really good idea to take it slow with this airplane, given the size of our load and how small the wheels were on the trailer. We were going about 10 to 15 miles per hour when we started our trip. When we mapped out the route that we would take home, we tried to avoid as many main roads as possible. Unfortunately, there were some main roads we just couldn't avoid. Even more unfortunate, there was some major construction that we had to go through on our way home. The good news was it wasn't slowing us down at all, and we got to see some people have some pretty funny reactions to our airplane. One thing that we did not anticipate was how hot the new blacktop was going to be for those small tires. I had to call David and tell him we needed to pull over and make a stop because I could smell something that smelled like burning, and there was a lot of smoke coming from the tires. Initially, I thought that we had blown a tire, but since these are solid tires and not pneumatic tires, that was not the problem. One of the many nice people that we met along the way brought us out a fire extinguisher so that we would have it just in case things went south. After being stopped for about 10 to 15 minutes, we decided to take our chances and carry on. We were definitely going to be going even slower now and making sure we only took dirt roads the rest of the way home. Unfortunately, that was not going to be our last stop. There was more smoke, more smelly burning rubber, and so we had to pull over and stop again. This time we started to get curious about maybe the hub was heating up, but if that didn't seem to be that hot, we decided maybe the bearing needed more grease, so David got the grease gun out and tried to put a little more grease in there to see if maybe that was the problem. We just really weren't sure why it was smoking so bad at this point. The man that lived in the house we stopped in front of was nice enough to loan us a bucket and some water from his hose to actually pour water on the tire to see if we could cool it down that way. We ended up actually borrowing a bucket from someone along the way and just stopping every so often and pouring more water on the tire. I'll be honest, I was more than a little skeptical when my husband suggested we buy this airplane off of Facebook Marketplace. In my mind, I was thinking, who in the world wants to stay in a random airplane? But as we were on our trip home, it became very apparent that there were a lot of people that were interested in airplanes. We accumulated a lot of gawkers, a lot of people that wanted to help with our adventure, and a lot of people that said we would love to stay in an airplane. Two of the guys that were becoming quite invested in our adventure at this point were actually mechanics, and so they suggested drilling a hole in one of the tires just to see if that might be part of what the problem was. It actually took us quite a while to decide if we wanted to go that route or not, because we had no idea what was going to come exploding out of that hole after we drilled it. The last thing we wanted was to be pelted in the face with hot, melting rubber. Thankfully, there were no explosions for now. So far, how are you feeling about your investment?
I don't know. A little nervous.
Seeing an overpass up ahead, we decided we better play it safe and pull over and measure the height of the plane just to be sure that we weren't going to get caught up on any low overpasses. We figured we'd probably be okay, but there was no way we were going to chance it at this point. Well, it's now 1:21 and we just had our first, well, it wasn't our first major breakdown, but this one was pretty bad. Plane literally broke in half. That is not good. As you know, we were taking it really slow to make sure that the tires weren't overheating. So naturally you might ask the question, how in the world did this happen going 5 to 10 miles an hour? There happened to be a washed out spot in the road that had created quite a bump that we were not anticipating, and so when David drove over the bump, it was just enough force to completely break the nose of the plane off of the fuselage. We're still able to haul it, so that's good. So we'll see how it goes. We're only a few miles from home now.
Life lesson 2 from owning an airplane without wings is, if you think you're going slow, go slower, because the nose of your airplane falls down. When I mean go slower, you think 10 or 5 is good? Check it out. 5 miles an hour. Breaking records here. Hoping to get it home in one piece, so.
Literally every time we think it can get worse, it gets